Hello and welcome back to the Lament Configuration Horror Podcast. It is 2026. Happy New Year. I am your host, Reoffend, and I am here with your other host, Greg Knox.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Woohoo. We are back and we are darker than the top deck of the night bus in Croydon.
Well, yeah.
It makes sense for locals, maybe
Yes.
not if you're overseas. But yeah, we're back and we're back for another year of horror. Exciting stuff. And today we have a rather different episode where we actually have a very special guest who we'll reveal soon. And today's episode will be largely based on Street Trash, the 1987 film, and the reimagining of Street Trash, directed by none other than Ryan Kruger.
Yes, who is going to be joining us?
Oh, awesome. Yeah, so something new for 2026. And before we do that, I'll give us the usual warning.
Because we're going to need it for this episode.
Do you think so?
Yes.
Okay, so warning, we are uncensored, unrelenting, spoilerific, unscripted, graphic, gory, and adult. There may be themes of sexual assault in this episode, and death, shock, and generally this is your trigger warning.
Not really spoilers, though. It's not really kind of film you can spoil.
No, I
as
guess so.
such.
I guess so. I mean, it's old enough that if you've not seen it by now, then, you know, you should have seen it.
Yeah, exactly.
So without further ado, let's go to our interview with Ryan.
Volunteers receiving a dose of synthesized substrate.
Don't put that needle in me.
E282.
No, stop. Wait. Whoa.
1431.
It's supposed to be itchy. It's really itchy, man. Shit, man, it burns! What? What the fuck is this, man? Oh, shit, my legs
So we are joined today by special guest Ryan Kruger. Hi, Ryan.
Hey, how's it going?
Excellent. So glad to have you here. So Ryan Kruger is a South Africa-based, multi-award-winning director and actor. He creates bold, unapologetic horror with sci-fi blended with dark comedy, and he is affectionately termed Scouse African after moving from Liverpool, UK to Cape Town, South Africa in 2008, I think?
Yeah, 2008.
Yeah? Yeah, he's known for his music videos, his debut feature film, Fried Barry, which came out in 2020, and Street Trash Reimagining, which was 2024, which some people may have seen last year when he was touring and screening and doing film festivals last year with that, which I joined you at the Prince Charles Cinema in London for as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome. So yeah, anyway, what was it about Street Trash that appealed to you to do a reimagining, and sort of how did this come about?
Yeah, it was never a thing that was planned. Like, I didn't go out my way to go like, oh, I want to write a Street Trash movie. It was purely because of the success of Fried Barry. And when Fried Barry came out, the American producers for Joe Bob's Last Drive-In, they were hosting Fried Barry on the Last Drive-In, and then people kept on mentioning I would be a good fit to do a Street Trash movie, and I saw that there was a lot of people saying, but you know, I didn't even think anything of it. Yeah, and then basically producers, they had the rights for the film for many years, and they couldn't find the right fit. And then they asked me, do I want to do it? And I was like, yeah, that would be awesome. And the thing was, you know, I grew up with that film. You know, it was a movie that, you know, I used to watch like late at night in my bedroom. It's probably on at like 2:00 in the morning or whatever. And I had it on VHS. It was a movie that I watched many times as a kid. So I already like knew that world. And then my biggest thing was not to do a remake. It was more to do, but it's basically a loose sequel. You know, we mentioned the film, the original one in my film. So yeah, it was always like it was always a loose sequel, but a standalone film if you hadn't seen the first one.
Yeah. Like I say, like a reimagining, so you put your own slant on it, and
yeah. I mean, it's very it's very very different than the original, but it was important to get that that DNA from the original, where it was the fluorescent blood and goo and stuff like that, and then obviously a big theme in the original was the homeless thing. So it was it was all those things that I think, as a fan of the original, I had to tick those boxes for fans like myself to be like, cool, this is I'm not trying to do the original. I'm trying to do something different, but have that respect and nod to the original.
Yeah. So are there any noticeable parts of the original that you sort of transplanted into your version? Like maybe some of the strong visuals in it, like some of the, the classic melt scenes. Is there anything about it that you sort of replicated a little bit, or parts of it that influenced you the most that you wanted to take into it?
Okay, you know what? For the love for the first one, for me, it was just, there's a lot of little Easter eggs here throughout the film. So I think the big fans of the original will get it, whether it's a line or two here and there, or obviously you've got the, the dick that gets chopped off, and, there's all those little things. And then even like when the film starts, there's that like chase. So I wanted to create that, it was after my intro, we did that like little chase scene. So yeah, I guess there was like elements here and there. Again, just giving a nod to the original,
Yeah.
So what I've noticed in a lot of remakes now is they very unsubtly nod to the original. Like I'm thinking of films like Alien Romulus or The First Omen. I like one of those films quite a bit, but what they've done is they've literally just copied like beat for beat scenes from the original in a very unsubtle way. And I've noticed you didn't do that. Was that a conscious decision on your part?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I didn't see the fucking point of making something and try to do it like scene for scene. And again, that's why it's, there's, I think if you look at my films, there's a lot of 70s and 80s references to lots of different films and films that I grew up on and films that I liked. So yeah, I think it's important. I think it's important for any creative to, if you're going to do something like this, then you've show. I think it's good to show like a respect there, that what you're making, and like with anything. I guess if you're a fan of something, which I was a fan of the film, so the thing is, it's like there's nothing wrong with that film, so just keep it the way it is, and then I'm going to do something different. You know what I mean? And I think the original Street Trash is, it's that special place in time where those films got made. And I guess it was like a part of your childhood of watching those type of films. So for me, I wanted to kind of recreate, those films that I loved when I was a kid, but with my twist on it, and still making it modern, but still having that like kind of like old school feeling,
Yeah. Was RoboCop an influence?
Yeah, there was some stuff there because you got like the news reports and shit like that. I thought that was like a cool way to introduce the world without forcing it. You know what I mean? It's like you watch that intro and then you get it. We know where we are. We know where it's set, and then that's it. And then you don't have to further explain like anything else. Because I mean, like originally at one point there was a suggestion that we were gonna make this film in New York, which would have been awesome to go to New York and make, but budget wise and stuff like that, it's one of those where I know with my connections here and the people that I work with and stuff, and money exchange and this and this and this, that we can make a bigger, better movie here instead of there. It'll cost like way too much, to shoot it over there. So I think when it comes to like budgets and stuff like that, you can really stretch the budget and do more with it,
Were you happy for it to be set in South Africa though? Because it does have a very kind of South African vibe, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I'm always pushing, yes, I was born in the UK, and yes, I've lived here for like 17 years. But at the same time, I think, South Africa's still got a lot to offer. And I guess looking at movies or music, if you look at, District 9, or you look at Deanford, or you look at all these like different little things that kind of have shed some light around the world to other countries to show South Africa. I think there's still a lot that's very unseen. I mean, there was a lot of people that watched Fry Barry and they were like, where the fuck is this film? Where the fuck was this film made? They didn't get on straight away that it's South African. So for me, I'm always like to push the South African angle and stuff like that to make more people aware of South Africa and the stuff that we do. Because in South Africa, we've been more of a service country to a lot of international movies that come shoot here. And our local film scene has grown more and more over the years, but it's still fresh, and it's still, there's still a hell of a lot of movies that get made here that don't travel. And there's lots of reasons for that, whether it's shit or it's not the type of films that will travel, or it's not genre films. So there's a lot of great stuff getting made here now, and there's a lot of we're still quite far behind when it comes to like genre movies. So I've always trying to push that, and there's nobody doing exactly what I'm doing in South Africa, which is pretty cool. So I'm really pushing, I guess, my style and the movies that I want to make. And I've had more success overseas than here, but South Africa is slowly catching on,
You think that's fucked up? I'll tell you what's fucked up. These two fucking weirdos created the most nasty, disgusting, unspeakable drug I've ever heard of.
What the fuck, guys? Catch it.
In our defense, that shit was dope.
Yeah, that shit was fire, to be honest.
Listen to these chicken shit kids. Back in my day, I was boofing 2 ounces a night. Sunshine, you're next. Sparkle, finger my ass. Yeah, this is great.
I think my biggest thing with the difference between the original Street Trash and my Street Trash is that, I really wanted the audience to go on this journey with these bunch of like rejects and, and go on this journey with them, but also that you care for them and you like them. And I think in the original Street Trash, there's no likable characters in a sense of, you know what I mean? There's no characters that you really care for. They're just these like fucking horrible people. And, they go on this journey, and it's very like loose. So you don't really care for the characters. So I think my thing was that, you've got these down and out homeless drug addicts, but they're the heroes. They're the good guys. And, it was important for me for the audience to like these characters and feel something for them. So when one of them, I'm not going to say who, just a spoiler, but when somebody dies, that you actually give a fuck. And you're actually sad about it, So, and I think that's, even with Fry Barry, I think it's important to, have that strong story and have those elements, and that, there's a lot of heart. I think there's a lot of heart in Fry Barry. There's a lot of heart in Street Trash, but there's also a lot of layers of a lot of different things. And some people will watch that, and some people will see that, and some it will just go over your head.
Yeah, I mean, actually, when I rewatched the original Street Trash, I forgot how much sexual assault there is in that. I was like, oh, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that reached out and said, I'm so happy that you didn't go there.
Yeah.
For those scenes. And I was like, it's one of those where, you look at some scenes like that, and it's either, it's just fucking point. I don't know. I look at it and go, it's fucking pointless, or it's like a shock value or thing, or it's just like fucked up. And I like fucked up, but but so look, you look at it like that, and you're like, okay, that's I think if that was, made now, there would be a lot of people like moaning, about those scenes,
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I have to ask about Sockle. So, yeah, what was the idea behind that character? Because he's not in the original. There isn't a character like that. So, yeah.
Well, was it always going to be you that voiced Sockle?
Yeah, I mean, so when I was writing the story, again, I wanted to... my first impression was to do loose sequel. Go loose sequel. So then it also means I can do whatever the fuck I want, in a sense of I can create whatever characters, and I'll make sure that I mention the first one in this film to make it that it's more of a loose sequel. And then because all the characters were all like drug addicts, I thought it would be, and I think Sockle only came into it after the third or fourth draft. And I just had this idea and I thought, fuck, wouldn't it be cool? Because originally Gary Green's character 2-Bit was that he was talking to himself. So I thought, well, what if he is talking to somebody, but nobody sees him, and then he sees the character? So I just thought it was a great element to put in there. And then I guess when we were looking at budget and stuff like that, I just thought, I'll do the voice. I've never done like a character voiceover or whatever, but I did it while we're on set. But my biggest thing as well with that was I got to work with Gary closer as... I don't know if you guys know, or with Fry Barry, Gary isn't a trained actor. He's not an actor. He comes from an extra background, and he's had no training, and he's a bit of an oddball. But it's I have to work with Gary a certain way to get exactly what I want, and that's like a number of ways that I work with him when it's rehearsing stuff, pre-rehearsing stuff, then being on set, then talking to him a certain way that I wouldn't talk to another actor, just so he understands. And then there's certain elements I get from filming where when it comes to post-production, when it comes to editing, there's I get certain reactions and certain things to polish it and make it look bigger and better. And it's literally how I did Fry Barry with Gary. So so I just thought it would be great to do this character and work with Gary more to get exactly what I want.
And what were you just looking for? Somebody who was like had a different look, had like the weird vibe for the character that you were going for, that he sort of matched that look? Like, how did you meet him?
I mean, for Street Trash, Gary was always going to be in it. Like he was 100% always going to be in it. I love working with Gary. He's so passionate and he's so wants to act and wants to do stuff. And and as I always say, Gary's got this cool look. He's got this cool presence, and nobody looks like Gary. And that's the thing. And also his character is very similar to Fry Barry, I guess, in a way. But I was still trying to push it and make it a bit different, and we added those tattoos, but also giving him a nickname where I always try and plant all these like Easter eggs in a lot of my films, because if you look at Ronald's character, Sean Cameron Michael, he's playing the same role that he played in Fry Barry. It's the same character, and in a way, 2-Bit could be Fry Barry just later on. Hence the name 2-Bit, which is just it's not like a proper name. So there's all these like little things that I put in the films where it's either the same characters or it could be the same characters. So I kind of leave it like open.
Yeah, sure. I was going to ask about the gore effects in your Street Trash, because obviously like the effects in the original film are quite iconic, I guess, in a way, in terms of like how colorful they are and like the melty stuff. Like, did you feel under any pressure, is not the word I'm thinking of, but like, were you concerned that if I make them too similar to the effects in the original, people will have a problem with that? Or were you just, fuck it, I'll just do what I want?
No, I think I was under pressure to get, to really push that. I mean, I guess that's the DNA of the movie. I mean, you look at the original film and there's not that much story going on. You know what I mean? It's not that much story going on. I think if you take, listen, the gore effects in the original film is brilliant. And I think if you take that out the film, there's not much in the film. As a kid watching that movie, you wanted to see that gore and stuff like that. So for me, my one was more about narrative and story and characters, without a doubt. But there definitely was pressure to try and push it with the prosthetics. But again, it's one of those to be honest, I would have liked to have done more. Like, we've definitely got more gore in the film than the original film, without a doubt. We've got more melts and that, and we've got more little gags here and there with blood and guts. But again, it's one of those things where, it comes down to time and it comes down to budget, and that shit costs a lot of money and it takes a lot of time. So there is some things that I would have been like, fuck, it would have been cool to do this, it would have been cool to do that. But it takes time, and it's a lot of, I guess, costs, a lot of money. And sometimes you do something and then it doesn't work, and you try reset it. So, there's a lot of like complications and time that goes into it. But I think if I could go back, I probably would try to push it more. But again, it's budget, like the budget that we had and what we pulled off overall with everything is amazing for what we had and what we did. But yeah, it's shit like that. It's like it's time consuming.
Is that because it's practical? Because what I was going to ask is, what's your stance between like practical gore effects and digital gore effects?
You got to do practical. Everybody that really loves these type of films is, it's all about practical effects. I guess, looking back in the 80s, it was like, 90%, 80% real, 20% prosthetics. And then it went to 90% visual effects, 10%, 10% real or whatever. So it's always nice to push the prosthetics and makeup, and I would way rather do in-camera effects and prosthetics and makeup by far. There's a creepiness to it, and there's a, it's there. You're acting right next to it. And I mean, there's still now, even with big films, you look at Jurassic Park and you look at the original Jurassic Park and the effects are amazing. And then you look at some of the new ones and it's like fucking 20 years fucking later, if not more. And you look at it and you go, these effects are terrible, So, and they're big fucking Hollywood movies that has the money. And then I'm like, how can it be bad? How can it get worse and worse over the years? It doesn't make sense. But it's also time. And again, it's, all these studios push out all these movies, and then by this date it has to be released, by this date it has to be done, and then there's no time to do it. And then I guess a lot of people don't think about it. A lot of people are like, and then I think it's around our age of people that go, that looks fucking shit. Why does that look shit? And I guess it becomes that thing where people around our age really notice that stuff, and we'd rather have prosthetics. We would rather have animatronics. And I remember seeing a video saying the worst prosthetics in movies and animatronics and stuff, and number one was like Terminator 1. I'm like, that fucking scene's amazing. What the fuck are you talking about? So I guess maybe it's that nostalgia that there's those movies that we grew up on and that we love. And then maybe the younger people now, they don't care. They don't care about that shit.
Yeah, so we wanted to do a bit of a deeper dive on the original Street Trash as well. Obviously, we can tie in more comparisons to your reimagining as well as we go. But just for listeners, Street Trash is a 1987 J. Michael Muro film. And it's a sleazy Brooklyn, New York City punk 80s body melt film. So yeah, just Greg and I were talking before about how there's like 3 different plots in this movie, kind of tied in.
So it's quite interesting when you say there's no plot. I would say there's actually too much plot. And by that, what I mean is like there isn't really an overriding plot, but there's about 5 or 6 kind of smaller individual subplots. Because have you seen the short film from 1984? Yeah. Okay. So the short film, for anyone who hasn't seen it, is very interesting because the short film is literally homeless man goes to the liquor store, buys vapor. I can't remember if it's called Viper. I don't know if it's called Viper in the short film. I can't remember. Sorry. But like, it's literally, he gets this Viper, drinks it, melts. Another homeless guy drinks it, melts. It's literally that for about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. And the 1987, like the full length Street Trash, it kind of starts like that. But then you kind of have this guy Bronson, who's this Vietnam vet, who's crazy. And then you've got the guys at the junkyard, which is very weird. And then you've got the mafia boss, which he's really cool. Like, I like the mafia boss. I like the guy who then was in Frankenhooker, like that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it came to your film, when you were thinking about sort of the plot, was it a case of like, okay, I don't want to keep this element of the plot. I only want to keep these specific elements. Like, was it a very conscious choice? Or were you just like, nah, you know what, let's just get rid of all this extra shit. You know, it doesn't matter. Or, yeah.
Again, it was just more of I knew straight away. I just, like you said, if you look at the original Street Trash, there is those little, it's not a whole fucking narrative, but there's those little plots, you know, in there. Like, it's more about, I guess, like if you look at the original, it's more about following that bottle of booze. Mm. You know what I mean? Like, this guy takes it, then he steals it off him, and then it goes there. I think with my Street Trash that it was from the very start was, again, like I said, is to follow this journey of these characters through trying to survive on the streets and just keeping it with, you know, Ronald and Chef and his men. And, you know, they go out and they look for stuff and they look for batteries, and it's that, you know, it's that realistic post-apocalyptic, just that fucked up future, you know, and them just trying to survive. And it was more about going on the journey with those guys and staying with those guys. And, you know, it's either you're rich, which is the government, or you're poor, which means you're homeless, and there's no in between.
Yeah, I've also forgot that in the original that there's this whole like war vet sort of thing where at first I was like, in my memory of it was that it was maybe a bit like Skid Row kind of thing where it was just homeless people and there were random amputees because that's what's in the original film. But then I realized it's kind of like a commentary on how the country had treated its war veterans. It's like not looked after them. And so was there an element of that you pulled into your version?
Yeah. I mean, if you know, you got to look, you know, there's a lot of depth within the film, and there's a lot of layers. So, I mean, we all know, and we all went through COVID. We all went through that thing where the government's saying, you got to do this, you got to do that, you can't do this, and you can't do that. And then the homeless thing is a problem. It is a problem world fucking wide, more now than ever. So there's a lot of, you know, you look at this, you look at the mayor in Street Trash, and, you know, it's almost like that. You know, like the president, it's, you know, it's all the, you know, it's almost like Trump and this and that. So there's all those like elements there. And like I said, the homeless thing is a big fucking thing around the world. I remember going back to Liverpool a few years ago, and I was shocked how much homeless people there are there than there used to be. And it's the same thing in South Africa. And when I went to the States, it's the same thing. It's out of control. It's fucking crazy. And again, it's all this shit with politics, and it's all the shit with the governments and not looking after their people. So it's very fucking relevant, right now.
Yeah, relevant then, still relevant now, and I think, and New York City is like a great place to highlight that, because I mean, I've been to New York probably periodically over the last 20 years, and it's always been like that. There's this huge homeless community, so it's a great way to highlight it in the original.
And it's the same with LA, or when you go to San Francisco, there is there's a lot of homeless there.
Yeah. One other thing that I forgot about the original movie is, like, when it opens, this character Fred is like just making these farting noises through it, and I was like, what the hell? Like, at first it's unclear if it's the shopkeeper or him, but he seems to be stealing a bottle of booze and then alerts the shopkeeper that he's there by making this farting noise, but then runs down the street. So I was like, do you think this is just like an over-the-top sort of trauma-esque thing that people were liking at the time?
No, for sure. No, for sure.
Because it kind of at the beginning, and then it sort of drops out and goes more serious. So I was like, what the hell? Did you notice that part?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, to me, like, I don't know how you feel about this, Ryan, but like, I love films from this period that are set in New York. These really grungy, skeezy sort of New York. So like Driller Killer, Maniac, and there's like a few others as well. But like, there's just so many. There's something about the vibe of New York from like this time period before Giuliani cleaned it up, unfortunately. So you can't have that, even in Taxi Driver, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think when you look at all those type of films back then, in those early 80s, it was always that New York, like on the streets, and whether it was like the homeless people or the prostitutes or pimps and shit like that, and it was messy, it was dirty as well, it was like way dirtier, so it was way more grungy and shit like that. And you look at those early 80s films, and it's always that just like fucked up streets and trash like fucking everywhere.
Yeah. When they're in the scrapyard, it's literally like they've got that much dirt on them. It's like you can't really see their skin. It's over the top, like levels of filth, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah. One thing I didn't know before I watched this film again is J. Michael Muro. No, Street Trash is the only film that he directed, but I didn't realize he was such a well-known kind of camera operator and cinematographer. So he's worked with James Cameron, like on Titanic. And so when I watched the film this time, I paid very close attention to like the camera, and some of the camera work is really good. It's kind of, this is a bit of a lazy comparison admittedly, but it's kind of Sam Raimi-esque. There's even like an Evil Dead style shot in there.
Absolutely. Listen, when I watched the film as a kid, I didn't know about filmmaking and cameras and shit like that, but I knew while I was watching it that it was different, and it was the same way you watched Evil Dead, where this camera like goes through the forest and shit like that. By watching it, you've never seen that before. So I knew, like, while I was watching it, it was like, oh, this is fucking cool. This camera's we're just following these people, without like saying to myself, oh, it's Steadicam, it's this or it's that or what. I didn't know all those like names and shit. But while you're watching it, you knew it was like, oh, this is different. You're watching something like that you haven't seen. So that, I think when you look at it, and it was also a big thing, when I made my Street Trash, that we wanted to do a lot of Steadicam and loose camera movement and, gliding through those scenes. And that was a very conscious thing from the beginning to have that feel, and you look at some of that stuff, and you look at like Terry Gilliam's, like, earlier work and stuff like that. It's those like low angles, tilted up, very wide, or, moving around.
Yeah. I mean, some of my favorite parts of the 87 Street Trash is the second homeless man, where there's a shot of him in the foreground, and in the background you see the rest of New York City kind of just going about, like, unnoticing the homeless people like they're these forgotten people. I thought that was a really excellent shot, really excellently framed. And also there's a scene with Bronson, and I think it's like one take where the camera starts on Bronson, then it kind of just goes in like a circle, showing like all the other homeless people there listening to him ranting and raving. And the nightmare sequence as well. I think the nightmare sequence as well, where he's having a Vietnam flashback, I think that's like really, really well done as well.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And some of the things I noticed about it was, I mean, there's a lot of sex in this movie, but there's a lot of scrapyard sex. And there's one part where they're sort of having sex and there's a random Ouija board just there next to them. I was like, okay. Other things that I noticed that I found hilarious is when the credits roll, the credits are awesome. It's like receptive whore in van, whore on telephone, other whores in van. And then you get to Bronson's henchmen who are called like Hefty and Discount. So, I mean, I'm guessing you took a little bit of inspiration for that for your character names as well. But the credits did make me laugh.
Yeah, I think. Well, it was always like originally I used to laugh because there was a TV series shot here. I don't know if you guys ever saw it, Black Sails, and Black Sails was like a pirate thing, but there was like so many seasons, and they shot it in Cape Town, and I always laughed when I watched that, and because it was always like. Because there was a lot of like prostitutes in it and stuff like that, so it was always like blowjob whore or just like all these like random fucking names, and it was always like, yeah, it was like the names were just like fucking terrible for these things. So I kind of looked at that and I was like, well, it's like how you gonna name somebody without just going prostitute or like sex worker. And there is sex worker, but there's those certain names that we also, as a crew, just laughed at, saying, "Okay, this is your character's name." You know what I mean? Somebody might not call you that name, but when you look at the description of what you're doing, it's like, yeah, you're the blowjob king, or you're the or freaking whatever.
It makes sense. It's a lot more fun, and it's a hell of a lot more interesting than putting like prostitute 1, 2, 3, and 4, you know?
Yeah. Well, imagine if you're an actor starting out and you're like, fuck, I just won that IMDb credit, and then you get it and you're the blowjob king and you're like, oh.
You're like, oh man, do I want this credit?
So again, I noticed obviously, Ryan, in your version of the film, like you haven't included the bits with the mafia boss with this, who is really awesome in this film, in the 87 film, by the way. So this is guy, Tony Darrow, who then went on to appear in like Scorsese films.
Yeah.
And he is very, very convincing as this kind of local mafia boss. Again, the way he talks to James Lawrence is very funny.
Look at this cocksucker, he's eating chicken. He's supposed to be watching the fucking door.
Mr. Duran, it's good to see you.
How are you, Mr. Duran, huh? Mr. Duran, my ass. Did you see somebody leave the alley with that lady I was with?
I didn't see anything. I just came out for some air. You know, it was a little crowded inside. I came out, I saw some guy in there. He was going through the garbage, some stink bomb, you know, real bad odor. He was poking around, he was stinking up the place. It smelled like my grandmother's hamper. I didn't want to make the business bad for you here. I wouldn't lie. I swear to God. I swear to Joseph, Jesus, and Mary on the cross. Why would I lie to you? You know you're a big man around here.
You saw with me 100 fucking times. Why didn't you come in and call me, you fucking imbecile? You fucked up, you know that, don't you? Take a walk.
Sorry. God bless you.
You're a real asshole.
Yeah, I also forgot there was kind of like a bit of a post-credits sequence at the end where they kill off the mafia boss, like Mr. Duran. And it's like it's a decent amount of deaths in this movie. I usually count the body count, and this is a 13 death movie, which is pretty cool. I think my favorite one is the toilet one, which is classic. I guess everybody knows it. It's the poster image. It's the cover image. And it's, very, very colourful. I mean, there's at least 3 colours of blood slime going on there, which is epic. Yeah. There's a lot to like in that scene.
Yeah, which I assume the reason they did that was to try and get around like ratings board issues, potentially, because they don't like lots of blood. So if you make the blood different colours, then they won't have as much of an issue with it. It looks cool as well, as just, it just does.
Yeah. I think you know, there's always been talks of that. I mean, even Tarantino had that with Kill Bill, you know, the black and white thing and the blood and all that.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't really think that matters, to be honest, because the certification board, you know, they look at all different things. No matter, like, okay, you say fuck 100 times in the movie, or or there's this blood, or there's that blood, or whatever, and there's this violence, or guns, or knives, or whatever. So it's all those things that add up. But I guess, like, when you look at people like us that watch all these films, I mean, that doesn't fucking matter in the slightest. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's like you're gonna watch it anyway, and at the end of the day, they're just gonna have to certificate at 18 anyway. You know what I mean? So it's not gonna. It's only when it comes to like distribution for certain things where you have to either cut a certain scene. You'll be surprised how many countries around the world that is against certain things. Like there's some countries that are more against drugs than violence. So you can, violent wise, you can do whatever the fuck you want. You can go very hardcore, but then there's certain countries that go, we don't want to see the needle going into the skin. We don't want to see that. Or it's like homosexuality or something like that. A certain country would be like, no, we can't have any of that at all, or something like that. So every country is very, very different when it comes to ratings and how they certificate their movies.
Yeah, it's actually really true. And I mean, the internet anyway has like a high tolerance for real life blood and gore and things, and you can see so much online now. You've got like Mexican cartel deaths online.
Fucking nuts.
Yeah,
like the shit that you can see online now is fucking crazy.
Yeah,
like if I had a kid now, there's not a fuck I would let my kid
go on the internet,
have a fucking phone or some shit. It's like the amount of shit that's on there now, and it's just so fucking, like, it can be the most random shit, and it's I'll have like videos on my fucking Instagram where I'm scrolling through, or Instagram TV, whatever, and I'm going through it, and then it's showing me like fucking people dying. I'm like, why the fuck do I want to watch this? Like real people fucking dying. I was like, what the fuck? Why are you showing me this? And then it's like, and then it will like show like animals getting hurt and shit. And I was like, why the fuck? Why is this online?
Yeah.
Why isn't people like fucking complaining about it?
Yeah.
And then there's like a whole another fucking view with like just random like girls doing something. I'm gonna say what it is, but just girls doing certain things. And I'm just like, fucking hell, like 2 years ago, they would have fucking throw you off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, there's pretty fucking hardcore shit on there now. And I'm surprised that it's still fucking.
Well, yeah, it's
still
crazy that it's uncensored. Like real life is uncensored on the internet, but then you have to jump through so many hurdles with film. Obviously that's like a proper release, like an official, like public release. But yeah, it's crazy how uncensored.
But I think the world's gone fucking nuts. To be honest, I think the world's gone crazy. It's like you'll scroll through, and then it's just a chick sitting there taking a piss, and I'm just
like, what the hell?
Where the fuck does that come from? Or why is people doing that? It's fucking nuts. It's just like the world has just gone fucking crazy. It's just fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Speaking of, questionable content, shall we say? Yeah, I mean, look, the film, the 1987 film is not perfect. And we've kind of touched on this already, but just the, let's just say questionable content in the original version. There is implied necrophilia in the original. There's implied gang rape. I'll just put it out there. That is heavily implied. Yeah. Obviously, it's not shown, but and there's a lot of nudity, which I know you are not super a fan of.
Yeah, I mean, it has its place, and there's a lot of it in 80s films, but sometimes when it's like, it's like just for the sake of it, it's like over the top, like all the time. It's like, I'm bored of this now.
And you've got our fat bald man as well at the junkyard. Guys, Frank, I think his name is. But yeah, just that guy in general. You will not be surprised to hear that he's a Trauma regular.
Oh.
I think he's in the original Toxic Avenger. But yeah, anyway.
Oh.
So it's that kind of content, which is like, yes, I am watching a film from the 80s. Yes.
Yeah.
80s Bush. That's all I'll say. I was like, they didn't shave much then.
Yeah. Which, I mean, Ryan, as you've said this already, like you didn't want to include any of that kind of content in your film, obviously.
No, I think some people just do it for like shock value, and then you know, you look at that and it's, I don't know. I look at it and go, you just don't. A lot of people complain about that scene. A lot of people, you know, didn't like that or didn't need to go there. And I think sometimes when it didn't need to go there, what's the point? What's the point of doing it? You know. But I think it's just, you know, you look at the original Street Trash, and it's not a perfect film, but it's cool, and that's what's cool about it. That it's not a perfect film, and you still enjoy it, and you watch it, and it's about that time and that place and time, like when you were a kid and you're watching these films, and I think that's what the main love for it is. You know.
Yeah, I think it was an awesome opportunity, like from them to suggest and like that you were a great fit for it. We're also really keen to hear, like, have you got any projects coming up? Like, what can we expect from you next? What have you been working on? I think you've been working on some experimental short films, or
yeah. So I just released. So last year now.
Yeah.
Last year I just released my experimental films. That was like 8 years in the making. So finally I got to release them online, which was awesome. And then over the past year and a half, after I finished Street Trash, I started working on another movie called Method Madness with Gary Green.
Nice.
And very, very different film than Street Trash and Fry Barry. It was just something that me and a couple of my other filmmaker friends, then we just shot every now and then. And it's basically about a wannabe actor that is really shit. And he ends up going like... Basically, it's this weirdo who's an actor who wants to be an actor. He goes to this acting school. He's terrible at acting. And then he ends up doing an audition, and a director believes in him because he did something in the audition, not what he was looking for, but he brought something else to it. And then the director has kind of seen something in him, and now he's been optioned for the role. And now he's got a chance to do a callback. And then he's struggling to do the self-tape. And then he basically meets this famous actor that he admires, and he gives him some advice. And then he ends up going like full method and starts like killing people. So it's very different than Fry Bar and Street Trash. It's black and white, very art house, gritty little film, but very, very different. I just wanted to shoot something completely different. The film is what it is. I think it's one of those films that it'll do a great festival run. I'll get a few sales from it, but it can only go so many places, and that's cool. It is what it is. And I shot that for over a year and a half. We're in post-production right now. This year, if everything goes to plan, I have a film that I'm shooting early this year, which is a horror film, straight up horror, no comedy or anything like that. It's just a straight up horror.
Yeah, nice.
And then towards the end of the year, there's a action comedy sort of film, but very, very, very gritty. So I pitched for a movie at the start of last year, and you handed in like a lot of synopsises for films and ideas that you would want to pitch for. And there was one script I wrote like about over 10 years ago, and I decided to put that script in for a synopsis, and it ended up getting picked. And it's
nice.
it's also like the day that repeats itself as well. Like the Groundhog Day. So it's basically Snatch meets Groundhog Day.
Nice.
So that's, and it's also 70% Afrikaans as well. So that's going to be interesting. So,
That's awesome. So I just feel like that blends your two worlds, and like you're uniquely placed to do that. So you should like use that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward. And even with a horror film, I'm looking forward to it. Listen, I love making Fry Barry. I love making Street Trash. Method Madness is also something very different. And yes, I like the darker side of life on a lot of things, but I also love all films and all genres of films. So to get to do this horror film at the beginning of this year is going to be cool, because it's just straight up horror. There's no like inappropriate stuff in it, or there's no comedy. It's just straight up horror. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then the other film, again, it's something very, very different. So yeah, it's just exciting doing different stuff. And then I did get some really good news a few weeks ago, which I can't announce yet, but that's also going to help my career in a big way, in a different sort of film, but it's headed down a different road, but really fucking good. Like really, really something very, very different. And I'll still do all the other stuff, but as I always say, like as a filmmaker, you never know what the fuck you're going to do.
No.
Because it's like, I never thought I would do street trash until street trash purely happened because of Fried Barry. And when I made Fried Barry, you know, I was fed up of waiting for somebody to, you know, either believe in you or give you money. And I was like, fuck that, I'm going to make this film. And then it was a success, and it did super, super well. So you never know, you know, there might be films that you want to make before certain films, but it's whoever approaches you, or it's when you pitch for something, you know, one company will like this, another company will not like that. So you never know actually which one's going to go through. And even now, you know, there's no guarantees. So yes, it looks like all these films are happening, but you know, like I don't fucking believe it until I'm on set actually, you know, actually doing it. So you just because you just don't know. And so I think there's a lot of this year just gone. There was a lot of cool things that happened, and then there was a lot of shit things that happened, and then there was a lot of hard work that I did last year that's making stuff happen for this year. So there's always like, you know, the end of the tunnel, like, fuck, if I do this, then I can do this. If I do that, then I can do that. And then apart from that, as I said, some of the shit things was we had Joe Vast, who played Chef. He passed away.
Yeah.
We had Johnny Pinar that played Society. He passed away. So yeah, it's just, last year was it was also a tough year. Tough year for the film industry, tough year for myself with, you know, my friends passing away, which still now I'm still like, fuck, it's actually nuts. It still hasn't like, you know, registered for me, registered yet. And even with Johnny Pinar, I already wrote a character for him for the film at the end of the year. And now I'm like, shit, I don't even know who to cast in that role, because he was basically playing that character from Street Trash, actually. So
it was like perfect for him. It's such a shame.
Society. You are finally ready, my China. It's time. Bada bing, bada boom. That will make you see things nobody's ever seen. You will do things nobody's ever done. That's not any normal narcotic. That will make you run faster, jump higher. You will think faster than the speed of light. My brother. God save your friends.
Yeah, you've been so generous with your time today, and we would like to know for the listeners where they can find you online. So plug all the things that we can find you on.
So I think Instagram, a Ryan Kruger thing. Yeah, basically a Ryan Kruger thing on majority of platforms, or ryankruger.tv. And yeah, you can check, if you haven't seen Street Trash yet, you can check it out. And if you haven't seen Fried Barry, go check that out as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And for us, you can find me on Ria_Fend, that's FEND. On Instagram, Threads. I'm also on Letterboxd, so you should join us on there. And for the podcast, we are at Lament Horror on Instagram, Threads, Twitter X, and on YouTube as well. Lament Configuration Horror Podcast. And Greg, where can we find you?
So I am on Instagram and I am on Twitter X. So I'm on Letterboxd as well as Worst Date Movies. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. And it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. And it's
thank you so much for having me.
it's shaping up to be a really prolific 2026 for you. So we'll be looking out for great things from you. I'm sure these projects are going to go ahead.
Amazing. I hope so too.
And yeah, Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you guys. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great to see you. Great to catch up.
Cheers, Thanks, guys.